Have you ever been grocery shopping before and find something down one of the aisles that's just such a great deal? You have to have it? Well, fantasy football is no different. As you're going through your draft day cheat sheets, there's some names on here that are must-have players. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today for one of our biggest shows of the year. And I could tell you right now, the juices are flowing and it's going to be a straight banger today, because today we're talking about a few must-have running backs for 2022 fantasy football. I got three guys we're discussing in this episode that you do not want to miss, because I went deep. And when I say that I went deep, I went really deep in this show, because there's a lot of information. And if I'm going to put my name behind somebody as a must-have player, I want to make sure that I give you the reasons as to why, and not just because I feel like it on a Tuesday, right? So that's what we're talking about here today. A couple items here real quick. This video last year got 3,800 likes. I want to see if we can beat that here in 2022. If this video can get 4,000 likes, I got a signed Najee Harris jersey right. I know we got some Najee fans out there, right? A signed Najee jersey from our friends over at Pristine Auction. Make sure you have your free account signed up at pristineauction.com. Use the referral code Headliners. There's a link down below in the description. But we're also giving away, I got to change camera views here. Can I do this again? Because I got to show you here. Look at, we also have a signed full-size helmet of Aaron Jones that we're giving away to a random person who purchases their draft guide here in the month of July. So you get your draft guide ordered, because then you'll be entered in to that giveaway as well. But it's time, right? I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. This is, like I said, one of my most exciting shows that I do all year long. So let's go ahead and kick it off here with maybe a name you've already heard here today. How about Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers? And this is really that point where you can't let recency bias really affect your decision-making in fantasy football. Aaron Jones didn't crush it in 2021. Noted. Understood. I gotcha. But his efficiency is there year in and year out. But this is where we need to look a little bit deeper. Not just looking at the surface stats. Box scores are cool and all, but they don't paint you a picture. Now, if you actually pull up where Aaron Jones finished in half PPR last year, it's going to tell you that he finished as running back 12 overall. However, did you know that part of that is due to the fact that he did not play the last week of the season, in week 18? Do you play fantasy football in week 18 of the season? If you do, you need to stop it right now. That has to be one of the worst league decisions there is every single year, and people are still making this mistake. Don't play fantasy football in week 18. The last week of the NFL season is an absolute cluster. The last thing you want to do is decide a fantasy championship on that day. So what happens if we remove week 18? Since it shouldn't be fantasy relevant to you anyway, right? If you do that, he finished as running back 9, finished 3 spots higher just by not including week 18. But what's even crazier to me is that he was only 18 points shy of finishing as running back 5 overall in a quote-unquote down year for Aaron Jones. 18 points shy is like 120 yards and a touchdown. That's all he was short last year of finishing inside the top 5. And yet, a lot of people want to look at A.J. Dillon. He's taken away all the touches. Sure, he got 221 of them. So it's not like he's just going to all of a sudden come in and go over 300. He's already getting huge volume in there. I could definitely see that number climbing and really hurting Aaron Jones had A.J. Dillon only had like 175 touches last year. But 221, that number's not going to climb very much. So what else has to change in Green Bay? I mean, they didn't really have anyone big on their offense leave, right?
What did you say?
Just wanted to make sure you were paying attention out there. Now, Devontae Adams, yes, he's gone. So is MVS. They signed Sammy Watkins and drafted Christian Watson and Romeo Dubes. So now what? We just expect Allen Lazard, Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, and Christian Watson are going to bury the best playmaker on the Green Bay roster in Aaron Jones? Now, these guys are sure, they're going to be decent, they're going to have roles, but Aaron Jones is going to be relied upon heavily in this offense. Heck, even with Adams in the lineup over the last 3 seasons, Aaron Jones hasn't had less than 63 targets in a season. And don't even get me started with what he did when Adams was not in the game. Dude averaged like 23 fantasy points per game when Davante Adams missed time. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Jones actually leads the team in targets this year and flirts with the 100 number. Let's play a little game. Here, let's do some projections. Now, let's just say that A.J. Dillon continues to get heavy volume, and once again, Jones sees right around 170 carries. Let's take his 170 carries and multiply it by his career average of 5.1 yards per carry. You're going to get 867 rushing yards or 86.7 fantasy points. Now, even if he only gets 20 of the vacated targets that are up for grabs in this offense, that's going to put him right around 85 targets. We'll take his 85 targets, factor in his career 74% catch rate, and that gives him right around 63 receptions. 63 receptions times his career average of 7.9 yards per reception, that's 498 receiving yards or 49.8 fantasy points. Plus, we're doing half PPR scoring, so add in another 31.5 fantasy points for his receptions, giving him a total in the receiving game of 81.3. So now before we even look at touchdowns, we're at 168 fantasy points. Now, in order for him to get inside the top 10, based off history, he needs to score just around 200 fantasy points. So really, he only needs 6 touchdowns to break 200. He hasn't had less than 9 since his rookie year in 2017, when he only had 90 touches total for the year. Now, I think these numbers are more than attainable and just shows that where you can get Aaron Jones at, if he can just get a few more touches, if we can get him in the neighborhood of 233 total touches this year, which is more than doable, he is a lock for the top 10. Do you really think he could get like 10 more touches in this offense this year? Because that's really probably all it could take in order for him to get the points that he needs to finish super high in fantasy football. I am all aboard the Aaron Jones bandwagon. 2nd round right now, going as running back 12. Love some Aaron Jones. How about, let's go down to Leonard Fournette next. Now, he's currently in the 3rd round, 27th overall, sitting right around running back 13. Almost kind of back-to-back right here with Aaron Jones. But we've gone from playoff Lenny to Lombardi Lenny to Fat Lenny now. I mean, come on. Give this dude a break. He just signed a 3-year, $21 million deal, which is pretty good for a veteran running back, and he got $5 million of that up front. Dude ate like Matt Stoney for a couple months. Just chill. Chill. Well, you don't know who Matt Stoney is? Google it, okay? I mean, come on. Tell me it hasn't crossed your mind that that's how Leonard Fournette eats at some point this offseason. I mean, am I right? Anyway, he'll still have plenty of time to get back into game shape. I've already seen videos of him out there working out with Jamar Chase and DeAndre Swift and other professional guys. He's going to be fine. He's a professional athlete. He's not a middle-aged dude in a dad bod trying to get in shape for the first time. Right? Let's give the guy a little bit of slack. He's going to be in Florida the next few months. Plenty of time to sweat all that out, but the facts are still this. Leonard Fournette was a free agent, right? This offseason started as a free agent. Tom Brady then retired. Well, then Tom Brady came back, basically sabotaged Leonard Fournette's visit to New England, and had him brought back to Tampa Bay. Tom Brady got the guy he wanted back, and that speaks volumes for Leonard Fournette. For decades, Brady has trusted veteran backs that he can really trust and that can catch passes out of the backfield, and that's exactly what Leonard Fournette does really well. Listen to all the categories that Leonard Fournette finished top 12 among all NFL running backs in. Snap share, great, he's on the field. Targets with 84. Red zone touches with 54. Receptions with 69. Receiving yards 454. 10 total touchdowns. Routes run 323 routes run and an 82.1% catch rate. He finished as running back 7.5 PPR just last year, while averaging just around 15 fantasy points per game. If we want to remove that dreaded week 18 number once again, kind of like we did with Aaron Jones, he would have finished as running back 5. And what's beautiful about the whole thing is he only needed 180 carries to get there, so he's not out there being overworked. worked. So what has changed in 2022 for him to go all the way down to running back 13? Well, Gronk has quote-unquote retired for now. AB is no longer in town. Chris Godwin is recovering from an ACL tear, and it could be October-ish before he's back to 100%. There's 190 targets up for grabs in this offense led by Tom Brady. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty dang enticing. Sure, they lost starting guard Ali Marpet to retirement and guard Alex Kappa to free agency, but they were able to fill those slots with Shaq Mason from New England, in which they only had to ship a 5th-round pick for, and they drafted Luke Gadecki in the 2nd round out of Central Michigan, and
Totally redeem yourself!
so when we look at it, there's really one thing that I think a lot of people are attributing to Leonard Fournette losing some of his value, and it's the drafting of Rachaad White out of Arizona State University. And while I love the talent of Rachaad White, there's no way a 3rd-round running back is going to come in and dominate touches in a veteran-led offense with Tom Brady. We know Tom Brady doesn't have much left, right? I mean, come on. He can't have too many years left. I mean, do you think they're really going to give a rookie that much of an opportunity out the gate when they have somebody like Leonard Fournette who's proven himself in this offense already and that they re-signed in free agency? I mean, why would they have brought back Leonard Fournette if they had just planned on signing a rookie there in the draft? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There may be a new coach in town, but don't kid yourself. Brady is the one calling the shots here, and Leonard Fournette is his guy. A tier 1 offensive line, the GOAT quarterback, a high-powered offense, targets up for grabs, and touchdown opportunities. And yet he's in the early 3rd round. I'd even take him as early as the late 2nd in some drafts here this year. Y'all coming out worried about dude needing to lose a couple pounds kind of reminds me of some of the talk we heard last year about Jamar Chase can't catch a football that doesn't have the white stripes from college. It's summertime, like I said, in Florida. Fat Lenny going to be back in regular season form here pretty soon and scoring touchdowns in one of the best offenses in football. I still love some Leonard Fournette. Last guy, I can probably guess that you guys aren't expecting the name that I'm going to say on this one. I could kind of take it easy and take another early round guy, but no, we're going to the 8th round, 90th overall at the moment, running back 34 in Tony Pollard. And by no means, by me talking about Tony Pollard, am I saying that I don't like Zeke? Because I honestly still do, especially if you can get him in the late 3rd, like I've seen in some drafts, which is absolutely crazy. Zeke is still going to get his in this offense. Don't kid yourself. He finished as running back 6 overall last year in a bad year, and now everyone wants to hate him. I don't understand that, but Tony Pollard needs to be circled. I'm talking about get yourself a Sharpie, get your draft sheet, and just circle Tony Pollard's name. And don't forget to do it. Or you can be fancy and do it on some spreadsheet and circle it or highlight a cell, whatever it is you want to do. I don't care if he's a handcuff or a standalone draft pick this year. Tony Pollard is definitely going to be on the majority of my rosters. Now, if you've watched us over the last few weeks, we've done some fun episodes discovering who the most efficient and most explosive backs are in the NFL. If you recall in those videos, Tony Pollard finished top 6 among the top 37 running backs in both shows. He was one of only 5 running backs that finished top 10 in both of those shows. Rashad Penny, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, and Tony Pollard. That's some pretty good company to be in. He just so happens to be a handcuff style player that still has weekly value. It's because he does a little bit of everything on the field, and they're going to utilize him more and more in Dallas. You have the Cowboys team that lost its number 1 wide receiver in Amari Cooper to the Cleveland Browns. They lost their wide receiver 3 in Cedric Wilson to the Miami Dolphins. Michael Gallup rehabbing a torn ACL. And all they really replaced them with are James Washington from Pittsburgh, and they drafted Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama. But don't get me wrong, I think those are decent role players, but they're nowhere near the talent that they lost. Pollard is in line for some of these touches. Don't kid yourself. How could they not give him more? Whenever he's touched the ball, he produces. He was top 6 among all running backs in the NFL in yards per route run, catch rate, yards per carry, yards per touch, breakaway run rate, and yards created per touch. And it's not just like he's some small little scat back out there catching passes. A lot of people think he's some like undersized, like an Austin Eckler type player. This dude is still 6 foot, 209 pounds, and can move the ball on the ground.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I mean, all he needs is a few more touches, but I'm not trying to be greedy about it. Could he maybe get 30 more touches total here in 2022? Do we think that's possible? 20 more rush attempts? 10 more receptions? Sounds more than doable to me. It would put him in the neighborhood of 150 carries and 49 receptions, 199 total touches. That is not crazy. So, back to math class, here we go. 150 carries at his average of 5.1 yards per carry for his career is 765 yards or 76.5 fantasy points. 49 receptions at his career average of 7.8 yards per reception is 382 yards or 38.2 fantasy points for the yards and 24.5 fantasy points for the receptions, a total of 139.2 fantasy points for rushing and receiving numbers. That's already 15 points more than the running back 34 scored in 2021, and we haven't even talked about touchdowns yet. So he's coming off the board as running back 34, and before he scores a touchdown, he's already outscored those guys. Even if we stay conservative and say he only scores 4 touchdowns total on the year, that gives him a total of 163.2 fantasy points and puts him inside the top 24 at the position. And yet you got him at running back 34. It's not too often you can find a running back in the 8th round that should get right around 1,100 total yards and a handful of touchdowns as a conservative number. He has weekly flex play potential, and what happens if Zeke were to go down? Everyone's saying that Zeke has lost a step, so what if? What if that is the case? Now, Zeke doesn't miss time very often, but the last time he did, Tony Pollard scored 28.2 fantasy points on only 18 touches in that game. The offensive line in Dallas still more than formidable, not what they used to be, but the pass-catching weapons aren't what they used to be either. Look for Tony Pollard to actually get some time in the slot this year, which I absolutely love. They have a great schedule second half of the season. Now, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I don't care if you draft Zeke or not. Pollard is a guy that I'm going to snag later in drafts because he's somebody I can throw in my flex spot. And if something happens to Zeke Elliott, you have a fringe running back 1 that you got in the 8th round. Love some Tony Pollard. So as you can tell, when you don't just look at box scores, right, you can paint a clearer picture of maybe the potential fantasy outlook for some of these players. But maybe you're sitting there saying, Jake, I want more. Give me more. I want mid-round guys. I want late-round guys. I want wide receivers. I want tight ends. I want quarterback. I want more. Don't worry, we have you covered. All those videos are going to be coming here over the coming weeks to make sure you have all the information you need to absolutely kill it. Don't forget, hit that like button. 4,000 likes, give away a signed Najee Harris jersey. You guys will blow that out of the water. You did almost last year. And then don't forget, also got the signed full-size Aaron Jones helmet right here for everybody who gets their draft guide ordered through the month of July, so don't miss out on that either. But for now, I'm going to get out of here, go do some more research because we got more bangers coming for you here this offseason. So for now, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, a great week. We'll talk to you later.